Overreaching.
Get vaccinated, we'll lose their jobs.
Government between parents and kids.
The infrastructure.
Largest tax increase.
The flow of migrants.
And people, here's what we know.
To get to the fact.
The stakes could not be higher.
You know what's going to happen.
The Democratic Party has reached a new level of insanity. It's really, really frightening. It's scary how much evil is connected.
Dedicated his extraordinary life.
Believe in America with all your heart and soul.
Inflation is elevated.
Continued shortages.
The mandates are working.
This hypersonic missile.
We don't know how to stop it.
Infrastructure.
Although it's a smaller bill.
More taxes, more debt.
The freedom to vote safely.
Take over all of state elections.
Alec Baldwin fired that prop gun.
Human remains found of Brian Laundrie.
Look, here's the deal, guys. Should police officers be mandated to get vaccines or let go?
Yes and yes. The mandates are working. No, I mean, come on. Freedom. Mr. Bannon.
The American people deserve to know what he knew. The resolution is adopted.
Contempt charge.
It's a battle between freedom and socialism.
They are overreaching.
Get vaccinated, we'll lose their jobs.
Government between parents and kids.
The infrastructure.
Largest tax
The
increase.
flow of migrants.
And people, here's what we know.
To get to the
The
fact.
stakes could not be higher.
You know what's going to happen.
The Democratic Party has reached a new level of insanity. It's really, really frightening. It's scary how much evil is connected.
Dedicated his extraordinary life.
Believe in America with all your heart and soul.
Inflation is elevated.
Continued shortages.
The mandates are working.
This hypersonic missile.
We don't know how to stop it.
Infrastructure.
Although it's a smaller bill.
More taxes, more debt.
The freedom to vote safely.
Take over all of state elections.
Alec Baldwin fired that prop gun.
Human remains found of Brian Laundrie.
Look, here's the deal, guys. Should police officers be mandated to get vaccines or let go?
Yes.
Tom Lamprecht, the stories you've heard and the ones you need to hear.
We need the infrastructure bill.
This bill is chock full of government dependency programs.
Inflation.
Big spending and more borrowing is only going to add to inflation.
Americans are pushing back. Parents at school board meetings, pilots at Southwest Airlines.
Stand up not just for folks in Virginia, but for folks around this nation. No more left liberal policies.
Your life, your values, your voice. This is News and Views with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
All right, welcome in. It's a new week. Benny is back.
I'm back.
He was now that you're back, I guess we can say that he was up Washington. He was north of Washington, way north of Washington, yeah. Up at West Point, watching Wake Forest score 70 points over. How many did the Army score?
Army scored 70. Wake scored 56. 70-56.
No. Army won?
No, I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry. Wake scored 70 and Army scored 56.
What is the record for the most points scored in a?
That was the most points scored for either one of them in any game in their history.
Wow.
I mean, it was
a lot of. As Benny was saying, they ran out. You know how they fire the cannon at East Carolina games? Well. What do you say? They fired it 6 times every time they scored a touchdown?
Yeah, every time Army scores, they fire these howitzers across the lake from the stadium, and they fire 6 times for 6 points when you score a touchdown. So what is that? 48? Yeah, 48 times I guess with those number of scores. So. I was wondering if they really. I was wondering if they really had that many charges prepared normally. But if you've never been to a game at West Point, and I've been to a lot of sporting venues. I mean, top sporting venues, and it ranks up there in the top experiences because it's just before the game, the review of the cadets, and then they parachute the Black Knights in, land at midfield. And they do that again at halftime, and it's just it's more than just a game. And it was a sellout.
There's not a boring moment.
No, and Army's prior to that, Army was 4-2, and of course Wake is still undefeated. So I mean, it was.
Well, Wake Forest's defense is just average, but boy, their offense.
Yeah, I think both teams scored their touchdowns on about 2 plays, 2 different plays. Army had no answer for Wake's. They couldn't defend the post play. I mean, they got their 2 wide receivers were much bigger and faster, and Wake just could not stop that belly dive and the pitch. I mean, Army can run the ball. They run the wishbone. So it was offensive game if you like offense.
Well, congratulations on a good weekend, a good game to watch. And Benny was up there with one of his sons looking over the academy. So you never know what's going to happen in the next few years in the Benny family. We'll see. Speaking of sports, oh, by the way, too, I got to say kudos to the Pirates. I mean, who would have thought they would have taken it into overtime down at Houston?
There's a story there. We went to bed early on Saturday night because we had a long day Friday on the tour, a long day of the game Saturday, and we went to sleep early. And let's just say some New Jersey people that were enjoying a wedding party next door to us in our hotel room woke me up at about 11:30 and kept me up to about 3:30. But anyway, so I woke back up and flipped on the game and said, "Wow, it's 24-10," and I just kept watching it and saw East Carolina tie it and then go in overtime. I was like, "Wow."
Yeah, that was a victory. And how about the Illini? I know this is not a sports program. We're going to get on with it. But the Illini taking Penn State into 9 overtimes and finally beating them.
Yeah, I think that was a record, I believe.
Yeah. Of course, the overtimes now are just one play per overtime, so it's not exactly how it used to be. But speaking of sports, this is a little more apropos for News and Views. Remember the All-Star fiasco down in Atlanta earlier this summer?
Oh, yeah, where Stacey Abrams and others kind of...
Yeah, poetic justice. Atlanta is... Now, is Stacey going to demand that they take the World Series somewhere else?
Yeah, and how about Major League Baseball? Or are they going to say, okay, Atlanta, you got to play your home games and for the World Series in Berkeley, California or something?
Yeah. And again, remember, they moved it from Atlanta to Denver to Colorado, where the irony is Denver is 76% white, Atlanta is 51% black. And they estimated that Atlanta and the 51% of black-owned businesses lost $100 million. But Stacey Abrams, hey, let's pat her on the back.
Well, who was it? Malcolm X said the most dangerous thing to a black man is a white liberal.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that's true today.
By the way, speaking of Stacey Abrams, she was up in Virginia campaigning for Terry McAuliffe. PJ Media had a great article today talking about just the fact that Democrats are chronic liars.
Yeah.
And there's no other nice way to put it other than the fact that they're chronic liars. They're constantly lying about Republicans. They're constantly lying about election integrity and trying to frame Republicans who want election integrity as being these racists who want to do anything to keep blacks from voting in the next election. And Stacey Abrams is right there leading the parade. She is still flapping her gums about the fact that she should be the current governor of Georgia, and not based on any fact at all. Over the weekend, she and Terry McAuliffe got up and again made those same ridiculous claims that she ought to be governor and that, it was her entitlement to be governor. And it was taken away from her because the current governor of Georgia, Kemp, did everything he could to make sure that she didn't get her rightful votes. And, of course, Terry McAuliffe is there nodding away, as he did, by the way, with Barack Obama when he was up there over the weekend. Back on October the 12th, on this program, I don't remember exactly what I said or you said, but it was for something about the election for fraud in last November's election. And I'm sure we said something along the lines that nobody in his right mind would actually think that there was not cheating going on in the last presidential election. Well, our producer today, Clark Willis, was notified by YouTube that the content from that program has been removed from YouTube, which I don't really care. I mean, basically, this is a live program. If they take it off 2 weeks later, I mean, do we really care? I'm not going to lose any sleep over that.
Just so long as those big checks from YouTube keep
coming. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just keep the checks coming. But, I mean, do you think for 1 second, and you made this point when we were emailing each other back and forth, texting each other back and forth earlier today, do you think for 1 second that they would ever remove anything that Stacey Abrams says about the fraudulent election in Georgia, which there's no empirical evidence of that at all.
And she's been saying that for what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah. Well, since she lost, when did she lose? Back in 2016?
2018.
2018.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It was mid.
Yeah,
midterm.
and she continues to say they're not going to remove her, but I'll remove our content. Yeah, in a heartbeat.
You know, I can't figure Stacey Abrams out. Much like President Obama. President Obama, I used to give him more credit than a lot of Republicans would give him for. President Obama he was gifted. I mean, he was really gifted at when he was talking about something, and I heard many topics he would talk about that honestly, I'm an expert at. And I knew that without a doubt he had absolutely no clue what he was talking about. But he was very good at convincing most of America that he was up on the subject.
Stacey Abrams,
on the other hand,
not so much.
I actually think Stacey Abrams she has told this lie so much she has convinced herself of it.
Yeah, she might.
I mean, I really do, because I don't think she's that good at telling it. I think she has convinced herself, and she's delusional.
Well, if you say it often enough, and when you have the aid of the mainstream media going along with you, there's probably a few folks that, speaking of Obama and Stacey Abrams, Obama was up in Virginia over the weekend, and he condemned, this is cut one, Clark, not cut two, but cut one, convinced that the things that Glenn Youngkin, who is running against Terry McAuliffe, and by the way, it's tied, 46% each is the latest polling. So if it's tied, it probably means, in all honesty, I'm not just saying this, it probably means that Youngkin's actually ahead, because the bias in so many of these polls is in the favor of the Democrats.
If they are calling President Obama in to campaign for him, their internal polling says something a lot worse than being tied, I think.
Well, and the fact that they're bringing Joe Biden in, and and Terry McAuliffe was critical of Joe Biden just a couple of weeks ago.
Well, for the life of me, why would you bring Joe Biden in and risk him saying something stupid?
Which
is like a 99.9% chance.
But listen to what Obama said when he was up there campaigning for Terry McAuliffe, talking about, just mocking what is currently going on in Northern Virginia and Loudoun County.
We don't have time to be wasting on these phony, trumped-up culture wars, this fake outrage that the right-wing media peddles to juice their ratings, and the fact that he's willing to go along with it instead of talking about serious problems that actually affect serious people, that's a shame. That's not what this election's about. That's not what you need, Virginia. Instead of forcing our communities to cut back at a time when we're just starting to recover, we should be doing more to support people who are educating our kids and keeping our neighborhoods safe.
Really? Really? Phony, trumped-up culture wars and fake outrage. 2 young ladies were raped this last year because of, one happened before the transgender policy, but it was over the transgender philosophy that we know this one young lady, the daughter of Scott Smith, was raped. And then, so you call that trumped up culture war, fake outrage. Then he goes on to say, instead of stoking anger aimed at school boards and administrators who are trying to keep our kids safe, and he said this, we should be making it easier for teachers and schools to give our kids the world-class education they deserve and to do so safely while they're in the classroom. It was in the public school building that these 2 young ladies were raped.
Yeah, I think this is going to really hurt McAuliffe, because I forgot what event he was at, but he was there. People in the crowd there. He was
campaigning for McAuliffe,
but he was speaking to an echo chamber. People that would show up to that. They're committed McAuliffe voters. Yeah. So, but I think he just gave a campaign ad to Youngkin.
Bingo.
That just says, hey, they don't take you serious, because in Virginia has an awful lot of independents, and for the longest time, Virginia was truly a purple state. Now, in the last few elections, it kind of looks kind of blue, but there's still a lot of independents in Virginia. And that's who they need, and they just lost.
And they need Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
And right now in Northern Virginia, that's where the parents are really ticked.
Yep.
They've had it.
And it's I mean, there's voter after voter that has. I mean, there's been several publications. People talk to these people in Loudoun County that, hey, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I didn't vote. They didn't vote for Republican in the last 2 or 3 elections. They're not voting Democrat this time. So I mean, I think that was a mistake on McAuliffe's part.
Brandon Mitchell, a frustrated father of 3 in Loudoun County, said that's the most tone-deaf statement I have ever heard, talking of what Obama just said. First and foremost, everything that has come up with the cover-up in Loudoun County has to do with sexual assault on girls. To say this is trumped up as a political thing is laughable. And there are a bunch of statements in this Fox News story from parents that are just totally frustrated. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, what are you thinking? How dare you say that it's trumped up? Laura Zork, Director of Education Reform at Building Education for Students Together, said, quote, Obama is either clearly clueless or intentionally misleading the crowd. I think it's the latter. Parents are fed up with politics being forced down the throats of our kids, she said. Parental rights is on the ballot in Virginia. This is not a Republican or a Democratic issue. It's a parents' issue. That goes back to what you were just saying. There are a lot of independents, and I think there are enough Democrats that are saying, the heck with this. We're done with it. We're sick of this authoritarianism. We're sick of our kids not being taught what they need to compete, which are the 3 R's. And we're sick and tired of don't come in and talk about how we have no right to have a comment, or Obama coming in and saying we need to keep our kids safe when your policies are causing rapes, allowing rapes. I shouldn't say causing, but allowing it to happen.
Well, I mean, this kind of proves where the Democrat Party is nationally. Because Terry McAuliffe, I mean,
he's right there. I mean, he used to head the DNC.
But you think about where he is now and his positions. You know, he's a Clinton guy. I mean, he's been with the Clintons forever. But he was fairly middle road Democrat, really. But he has gone so far left because to survive in the Democrat Party, you cannot be a centrist on any issue.
Congratulations to Bernie Sanders and AOC. They've done it. They've pulled the whole party so far over. But they've also, my humble opinion, they are destroying the party. I think it's, consider this. Virginia has about 1.3 million students enrolled in public schools. 1.3 million students. Ralph Northam last time won the state by just 200,000 votes. I mean, that is notable that you've got the guy that's running as a Democrat has saying parents have no right to have a say-so in what their kids are being taught in public schools.
Northam was the governor of blackface, right?
Yeah. Although now he says, well, I don't know if that was me or not. So after they said it was, he doesn't know whether it's anyway. There are a lot of mama bears and papa bears up in Virginia, and they've had it. Hey, we got to take a time out. Stay with us. Lots more to talk about. 561-8255. We'll be right back.
And we're on location at one of my favorite places on the whole planet because this is some of the best food we've ever eaten in life. We are at Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. It's one of my hangouts. It's one of the places that I love. I got my friend Pietro Pasalacqua. How'd I do?
You did great.
Let's talk about the food. What makes this place? I know it's special Italian from authentic Italians, but tell us why it's so special.
Because everything we do, it's really what we came up on the menu from what we did at home, from my grandparents, my parents. So it's exactly what we eat at home, and that's the way we cook. That's why it's special.
And the atmosphere in this place is special also. From the bar to the 2 dining areas. You got 2 different dining areas, and now the weather's nice, so there's going to be a lot of folks that want to eat outside.
Yeah, we have 2 rooms. One room is designed a little different. We're also working on the patio to make it more attractive and more useful in the summer with a cocktail service. And we're always improving our services.
And, of course, my friends here, my buddy, Chef Massimo, who I love, and Sal and Pietro, you guys do a great job here. Not just Italian, but I had a great pork chop here the other night. You got great steaks, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're also adding filet mignon in the future on our menu. And Massimo is coming out with a really good side dishes for it. And so we're really excited to come out with new meats and fish.
Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. Same people that give you Marabello's and the great pizza that you get at Marabello's, but this is fine dining at Nino's. If you haven't been here, you don't know what you're missing. Come see him at Nino's on Red Banks Road. And Pietro, what is that famous saying about Nino's?
The food that you enjoy with people that you love.
Hi, I'm Richard Langley, and after helping my grandmother with an iPad she received as a gift, I realized how many other older adults may also have challenges with their own technology.
Happy Grandma specializes in helping with any tech issue you may be experiencing. Whether it's setting up a new computer or TV, having issues with the printer or Wi-Fi, or showing you how to use your tech, we want to help you. To make it easier, we come directly to you with a smile on our face.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough, get happy.
Happy Grandma Senior Tech Support.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern living's best.
Oh, I love your costumes. Let's see. Batman, Dracula, a zombie, and let's see, what are you supposed to be?
I'm like, a news anchor?
Oh my God!
No, not CNN. I'm a good anchor.
The news is full of tricks and treats. Your afternoon host will fill your bag, even when the news is too scared up. Now, back to News and Views with Tom and Benny on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
All right, welcome back in. It is National Mother-in-Law Day. My mother-in-law's gone to her eternal reward, so won't be celebrating a lot at the Lamprecht house.
I had a good one. I had
a very good mother-in-law.
They get a bad rap,
They
jokes,
do.
the brunt of
That's
jokes.
not an appropriate question for you to ask.
But I had a very good one.
Ooh, can you imagine the son-in-law of Nancy Pelosi?
I just had my hair washed.
Ooh,
Yeah, I
she'd
know.
have to have a mighty
thick skin.
Yeah, her daughter would have to be very attractive.
Well, do the acorns fall far from the tree? That's very catty. A little trivia question for you. What year do you think the microwave oven was the first microwave oven was sold? How many years ago? What year do you think it was?
I'd say about 1977.
Believe it or not, I would have said the same. 1955.
Wow.
First microwave oven was sold by Tappan on this day, 66 years ago. Cost?
I bet a couple thousand at least.
$1,200.
Yeah.
And now you can buy one for what? $50, $75, brand new. I mean, they're little ones. They're pretty cheap.
I remember before when they came popular, in the 70s or whatever, 70s or 80s. I remember people used to talk about, I got a $500 clock.
Yeah,
because a $500 popcorn machine that tells time.
And they were pretty large. I remember our first one took up about half the counter, and
I had a large one I bought in college, being a poor college student. Paid $25 for it, and I used it like 20 years, and I think I sold it for like $50.
Yeah, those original ones hung in there a long time. Of course, they didn't have the rotating gizmo in the middle.
I probably got some radiation from it.
Yeah. Well, remember how controversial they were.
Oh yeah,
that you'll be impotent if you have a microwave in the oven. A microwave in the oven, a microwave oven in the house. Yeah, okay. Taking a look at your weather forecast. Tonight, a slight chance of showers between 10 and 11 o'clock. Otherwise, a low around 51 with cloudy skies. Tomorrow, mostly sunny. High's only going to be 68, and it's going to be windy tomorrow. High gusts near 23 miles per hour. Tomorrow night, mostly clear, low around 48, so get the blankets out. Wednesday, sunny with a high near 69, and low on Wednesday night with clear skies around 51.
So the wind to blow those beautiful leaves off the trees. That
Probably
the trees
so,
are looking
yeah.
really nice now.
Yeah, well, it took them a long time to look nice, and now the wind's going to come and blow them all away. News and Observer is reporting the Chapel Hill Harborough City Schools will give the students the entire week of Thanksgiving off to support students and staff's mental health and wellness. The new days off, an optional teacher workday, and 2 new wellness days are among several new initiatives the school board approved last week. In the presentation Thursday night, Superintendent Na Hamlet cited feedback from employees, students, and families as reasons for the initiatives. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think if you went into your office and said to your employees, you know, we're going to put this up for a vote. I just want to be real sensitive to you. But how many of you all would like to have the entire week of Thanksgiving off? We're going to put it up for a vote.
I can answer that.
I mean, Madison Lynn, the Chapel Hill student body president, said there is a mental health crisis at the high school level. There are 5 lunch periods at her school, making it hard for students to meet with teachers or clubs. Requests for student events continue to be denied, despite COVID-19 protocols that have led such events to return in the order of district. And these poor people. These such stories of such hardship. I can't imagine the pain and suffering. Be still my heart. Give me a break.
You know, probably our mental health state would be a lot better if
we get rid of Biden.
Well, if we didn't have a governor that has locked down the state like he's Vladimir Lenin or something for
Bingo.
the last 18 months.
Well said. PJ Media is reporting that none other than Donald Trump Jr. calls the Washington Post "Let's Go Brandon" walkback the greatest correction in the history of journalism. By the way, last week when you were out, we played the "Let's Go Brandon" song, the rap song. It was 2 last week. It's actually up to number 1 now. The anti-Biden rallying call, "Let's Go Brandon," is taking over iTunes with rapper Bryson Gray poking fun at the president. Number 1 on iTunes.
I actually heard it. I was somewhere, heading somewhere, and listening to the show, and I actually heard that. I said, you know, that might be a rap song I can get used to.
That's what I said. Yeah, here we go. Let's go, Brandon.
Oh, my.
Yeah, Clark, right on time there. Thank you, sir. Anyway, over the weekend, the Washington Post published a return to civility type piece decrying the increasingly vulgar taunts hurled at Pathetic Joe. Does anyone recall the Washington Post wringing its hands over Bush Hitler when they were basically calling Bush Hitler?
Yeah.
Or the Washington Post pushing the Russian collusion stories, saying that Russian prostitutes peed on Donald Trump and on the bed that Obama was going to occupy when he came over. And in fact, the Washington Post was actually participating in those taunts. But now it's suddenly time for civility.
One of our listeners just texted me and said that, FYI, iTunes took that song down off their website due to medical misinformation.
What?
That's what I have here, and this person follows this stuff pretty closely. So
probably so.
Who was it? Maybe this is your story, and but was it on the House floor? A guy from Florida.
Oh yeah,
ended his speech. Let's go.
Let's go, Brandon. Yeah. No, I was not going to bring that up, but you're right. But you know, it's interesting though. That really needs to be noted. There are all kinds of organic eruptions against Joe Biden without the mainstream media. Now, these eruptions against conservatives are with the help of the mainstream media.
Right. Mm.
But, I mean, you've got people putting up homemade signs. There's one guy, a guy named Michael Dick, has put in his front yard all kinds of homemade signs, including a large yellow placard with basically a list of grievances against Biden: $4 a gallon for gas, inflation, Afghanistan, COVID-19. Another, Michael Schwartz, has used black spray paint to scrawl Joe blows across the electric pink poster board. And there's the bottom line, and then constantly "Let's Go Brandon" and constantly Joe Biden. These are organic eruptions that people are sick and tired of Joe Biden. And again, chants against Republicans have got to have the mainstream media leading the charge. Nobody in on the right or left got people to say Joe Biden or "Let's Go Brandon" or anything else. People are sick of Joe Biden, and they're sick of the authoritarian crap being shoved down their throat.
Well, you know, the mainstream media, in particular CNN, needs to they need to get a grip on just how bad and the people are starting to realize this. Their ratings. I read this week or actually this morning I read.
I think last week they were the lowest they've been in
ever.
A long time.
Not a single program with over 1 million viewership.
Yeah.
Everything was under
I
1
think
million.
all of across the board, Fox is just beating CNN hands down, not even close. But again, you know, we're talking about the evidence that Stacey Abrams, you know, claims she won the election, and you know, iTunes is taking us down because we claim that there was fraud in the last election. Again, this is just pretty subtle evidence. It's hard to believe that 81 million people voted for Joe Biden, and yet so quickly and completely they've turned on him. But we can't question that Joe won that election. I mean, are the voters of America that stupid that they didn't see this coming? I mean, a lot were, but 81 million?
I'd be willing to bet that Joe has to be reminded every morning that he won the election. I mean, I'm serious. I'm being serious saying that.
Oh, yeah. The North State Journal is reporting that on Friday, Joe came out and said that he would be, in coming weeks, he would be moving to fundamentally alter the filibuster or even eliminate the legislative roadblock that empowers the Senate minority as he aims to pass sweeping voting laws and secure the national credit. Now he said this. I mean, there's no way that he can do this. Well, now, he could try, but there's no way he's going to get this through on the voting law, H.R. 1 or any other, H.R. 2 or any other voting law, by doing away with the filibuster. But he is talking about it. But have the libs forgotten how they lived to regret Harry Reid's elimination of the nuclear option or using the nuclear option, and when it came to approving justices, and how that backfired? Do they not realize that in less than 18 months, barring another fraudulent election, but YouTube's going to knock this broadcast off as well, I guess, with that the Republicans will be in charge of the House and the Senate, and suddenly it will be pretty overwhelming.
I think they're desperate. I think they realize where they are. I mean, they realize where they were in the presidential election.
This is the last grasp, you think?
No way Joe Biden's ever their candidate without the pandemic. I mean, I still say there's a plan. There's a plan in place. I don't know what it is yet. I think I've got a good suspicion, but they are desperate to get whatever they can get done before the midterms because, I mean, what is the House margin right now? It's
not much.
Not much. And the Senate margin's obvious.
50-50, but yeah, the House is it even a dozen now?
Yeah, it's less than a dozen, I think. But if the election was today, I mean, it's still a ways away to the midterms. But if election was today, it would be a landslide, I think, to remove people.
Oh yeah. And I know that it's basically a year and 2 weeks. No, a year and a week away. Like was it? Yeah, it'd be about a year and a week away from next Friday, this coming Friday. So. In some ways, that's a long time in political times, in political years or months. But, I don't see it turning around that drastically between now and next year's election. Hey, we're going to take a time out. Lots more to talk about. Stay with us. Tom and Benny will be right back.
Break the chain. Eat local. Tiebreakers.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
My name is Dr. Neeti Armistead, Chief Medical Officer for Vidant Health. The following simple steps will help keep you and your community safe. Stay home as much as possible, wear a mask when out in public, avoid large gatherings, practice social distancing, and wash hands often. It's also important not to delay needed care. Vidant has taken important steps to provide you and your family with a safe environment. Learn more about COVID-19 and Vidant's response. Call 252-847-8000 or visit vidanthealth.com/COVID-19.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North.
This is your Drive at 5 and This is your Drive at 5 and ENC with Tom Lamprecht. Welcome back to News and Views on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
So the individual who was listening and texted Benny saying that the Let's Go Brandon #1 iTunes song has been taken down for medical misinformation. Apparently that is correct, and we're reading stories during the break here trying to figure out why. And the only thing we can figure out is because in the song, in the rap song, he's talking about Biden's cognitive abilities not being all that they should be. I'm phrasing it in the way I think he meant it. So are you kidding me? Are you kidding me that iTunes is questioning, that iTunes is saying, well, you can't question his cognitive ability?
Probably if they got every doctor in America in a room other than, Sanjay Gupta or whatever his name is on CNN, I think all of them would say, yeah, I can clearly see that guy's got cognitive ability issues.
And again, I'm not giving Joe an unfair hard time here, but again, remember, he has had part of his brain removed. And the part that he had removed, apparently, from surgeons I've talked to, it is basically your filter that you learn what to say and what not to say.
Did you talk about, let's see, have we had a show? I don't remember. Have we had a show since the town hall?
Yeah, that was Thursday. We were on Friday. Yeah, I had a couple of clips from that. Yeah, Joe was.
So you talked about his, holding his hands like he was holding a podium. I don't know what he was doing, but I mean the guy is. Well, I shouldn't laugh because
you don't laugh. At your
I shouldn't laugh.
You don't laugh at your great grandfather as he's declining quickly down the hill. So.
I think his family's the one that's
shame
should
on
be
him.
ashamed.
Shame on him. Well, and Cooper Anderson Cooper, whatever his name is. He's basically filling in the blanks.
Oh, yeah.
And Joe was talking about Los Angeles and couldn't think of Long Beach and asked, what am I doing here? And then at that point, Anderson Cooper says, Long Beach? Trying to think of Long Beach? The Western Journal is reporting 2 Republican members of Congress found themselves censored on big tech, Twitter this time, last week for stating a simple biological fact about Dr. Richard, please call me Rachel Levin, the first openly transgender nominee to be confirmed by the Senate to federal position as President Biden's Health and Human Services Assistant Secretary, now for the first openly transgender four-star officer to serve in any of our nation's uniformed services. And again, four-star general of what is it exactly? The health department? I mean, this is you get a uniform. You have a bunch of stripes, and Richard, please call me Rachel Levin, can now wear a girl's uniform. I guess he's feel excited about that. Anyway, I digress. Levin is transgender, which means that he is a man. That pesky Y chromosome is still there. Has he had Uncle Albert removed? I mean, that's more than you want to know, but
I'm not sure if they've done an equipment check. But
anyway,
but
they have done an ugly check, and
well,
not so good.
Kind of favors Captain Kangaroo, except with long hair.
Anyway, Jim Banks,
bushy eyebrows and all.
Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia and Jim Banks of Indiana have both come out with tweets noting that it doesn't really matter what Joe says. It doesn't really matter what everybody else says. The emperor has no clothes. That's not a good analogy, I guess, because we don't want to see this guy without any clothes. But they're speaking the truth. They're speaking what the little boy said when the emperor walked by stark naked, and he says, "He had any clothes on." They're speaking the obvious truth. This is not a woman. And yet, Twitter and the big tech, they can't stand it. They've got to take them down. You know what's interesting about this is stop and think about how the libs want to come after the Republicans, continually saying they have this war on women. And stop about, I mean, if you were a woman, a true biological woman, would you be pleased that a male is now being praised as the first ever female four-star admiral?
Yeah, I just can't get over how the women's rights arm of the Democrat Party
is suddenly quiet.
Yeah, it's really amazing to me.
Yeah,
but I don't see how Mr. Mrs. Levine, whatever, I don't know how to dress.
Richard, please call me Rachel.
Yeah, I just don't know how do you award stars to someone that's never been in the military. We talked about that last week, but I don't know. It's just another, they just wanted to have that other, check box that, hey, we did this.
Oh, yeah. To quote George Orwell's 1984, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. It's never been more representative of real-life powers than it is today, and the left's demand for our silence speaks volumes. I mean, it does. I mean, go back to the last time in world history where you had this kind of iron fist oppression when it comes to free speech.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that comes to mind, I'm sure has happened elsewhere since the 1930s in Hitler's Germany, when the brown shirts came out and had the book burnings. But that was basically, we see that happening. I mean, you don't have books anymore. Very few people buy books. Everybody reads on the internet. So what do? We burn the information on the internet. You can't have it.
Yeah, and that's why, you've got immigrants now that are willing to speak out, that have been in places, Eastern Europe,
good point.
Former Soviet Union, Cuba,
they're
China,
the ones that are speaking
all over
out.
the world. They're the ones speaking out, basically saying to Americans, "What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, wake up."
I mean,
wake up. North Carolina Republican-led legislature is wrapping up redistricting. This is a once-in-a-decade process, of course, where politicians use the latest census to draw up the state's political districts. The News and Observer is asking the question, will the state's major cities get broken into pieces with the residents spread out among various rural-leaning districts? The GOP drawn maps were posted online would have led to Republicans winning either 10 or 11 of the state's 14 U.S. House seats in 2020, despite the just under 50% of the combined statewide vote this year going to Republican candidates, according to an analysis by Dave's Redistricting app. But while Democrats are worried about the potential that Republicans might pass a map with a lopsided partisan split, there is a separate but related concern that could be the basis for lawsuits against the maps, and that's race. Before the map drawing began this year, GOP leaders passed several rules to govern the process. Democrats quibbled with some, agreed with others. They strongly contested one, the decision to ban lawmakers from using racial data when drawing maps. Now, this is the irony of ironies.
It is.
I mean, and let me read from the News and Observer just 2 years ago, back in 2019. A decade ago, North Carolina Republicans redrew their legislative maps to help their party in a way that federal court struck down illegally, depriving black voters of the right to political representation. A state court order struck down Republican drawn maps as based on pure partisanship. So the GOP managed-led legislature embarks this year on its most up-to-date round of redistricting. It has pledged not to use race or partisan information to draw the political strains. So the courts are the impetus for why the Republicans are not looking at race when they draw up the maps. Mm-hmm. And what did the Democrats do? They're now upset, basically working against the thing that they worked for just a few years ago, that how dare the Republicans ever consider race when drawing up these maps. Now they're saying you've got to consider race.
Well, I know. And the Democrats they're just disappointed they're not the ones in charge.
Absolutely.
That's all it is.
And, I mean, you go back to LBJ when he said, thank goodness for the Civil Rights Voting Act when back in the early 60s, when he blatantly said, we're going to have these blanks voting for us for the next 200 years. Mm-hmm. Liberals have been using blacks for their own gain for decades. And and now, I think there's been a huge wake-up call across all races. It was Dan Blue said...
From Durham? Is he from
Durham?
Durham,
yeah. Raleigh Senator Dan Blue said in an interview for this story in the News and Observer, it's certainly not as bad as it was in 1965. But that's not to say it doesn't exist. 1965 is 56 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, more than 50% of our population wasn't even alive 56 years ago. But they're going around now, and the big question that this News and Observer article is asking is, blatantly asking, and you talk about stirring the pot of racism, is will whites vote for a black? And I asked the News and Observer, have you noticed anything unusual about a lieutenant governor? It's unbelievable.
That's a good point.
And Tim Scott down South Carolina, Barack Obama for
Barack
that
Obama,
matter.
2 terms, yeah.
I mean, here's the bottom line.
For the News Observer to
go there
to make that statement shows just how they're not that stupid. They're not that ignorant of the information. I mean, they look at polling data and voting data. Whites vote for blacks all the time. Now, blacks do not vote for whites all that often if there's a black person on the ballot. That's just a fact.
Well, here's the interesting thing, though. It's not a black-white issue. It's not a racial issue. It's an ideology issue. It's a conservative liberal issue. Yep. And you look at a guy like Mark Robinson, I'd be happy to be his campaign manager. I mean, when Mark Robinson was in Eastern North Carolina just a few weeks ago, there was a couple of hundred people there. There were blacks and whites, but there were a couple of hundred whites there cheering him on and cutting checks and would love to see Mark Robinson as the next governor of North Carolina. So News and Observer, don't make a political ideology your use racism as your excuse for not having the maps drawn the way they should be drawn. Unbelievable.
Well, that's the Democrat way, and they're a mouthpiece for the Democrat Party.
We'll be right back.
Your trade is in high demand. That means your trade-in value has never been hotter. Get to Greenville Toyota now. We'll pay more for your trades than ever before. Get cash on the spot, even if you don't buy from us. At Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
My name is Dr. Neeti Armistead, Chief Medical Officer for Vidant Health. The following simple steps will help keep you and your community safe. Stay home as much as possible, wear a mask when out in public, avoid large gatherings, practice social distancing, and wash hands often. It's also important not to delay needed care. Vidant has taken important steps to provide you and your family with a safe environment. Learn more about COVID-19 and Vidant's response. Call 252-847-8000 or visit vidanthealth.com/COVID-19.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you farm to fork beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to fork beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Back to news and views. Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
So last week, the United States Senate approved a rather controversial nominee to the United States Department of Education who served in the Obama administration. The Senate confirmed Kathleen Lamont as Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights in the U.S. Department of Education. This woman is all about the whole transgender deal. She's all about guys, if they want to use the girls' restroom, locker room, whatever, that's okay. A school, she said, I quote, "A school may not require transgender students to use facilities inconsistent with their gender identity or to use individual facilities when other students are not required to do so." So there you have it, the latest addition to the Obama administration, all about transgenderism.
Biden administration.
What'd I say?
Obama.
Same thing.
Same
thing. We got to run. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right.
We're on location at Fabric and Home Furnishings, and I'm back with my friend Lisa Pendry. And Lisa's been telling me about all the great renovations that have been going on here in the store, and I've been looking around, and it looks fantastic. Tell us what you've done here.
Well, we've knocked some walls down, we've painted, we've added some new vendors, lots of new exciting things going on. So we're making room for everybody to get what they need to transform their homes.
Looks fantastic in here. Last time we talked, you were saying that you were able to deliver a lot faster than most other furniture stores. Is that still the case?
It is. It's changed a little bit, but we're still looking at around 8 to 10 week delivery, and we do sell our floor samples right off the floor.
All right, we always say that Fabric and Home Furnishings is more than just a fabric store, so tell us what the more is all about. What when people come in, what should they expect?
Well, we love to get to know our customers. I have the best crew I've ever had, and everybody on my team is an interior designer. So we offer in-home design service, which we always have, but now they can each come out to your home after they work with you in here, figure out what's going on in your residence or your commercial property to pull it together and help you make everything beautiful.
You got great folks here.
I do.
I can tell you, I haven't gotten to know them. It's like a family when you come in here, and everybody gets along well, and you can tell that these guys and gals really know what they're talking about when it comes to interior design.
They do, and that's really what makes us different. We offer complete in-home design service. We don't charge a by-the-hour fee. It's a flat one-time fee. We work with you in here, in your home, in your business, and help pull everything together.
All right, it's more than just a fabric store. Fabric and Home Furnishings in Arlington Village. Come see this lady. She's fantastic. Fabric and Home Furnishings. Come see the renovations here in Arlington Village. And thank you for the visit today.
Thank you, Henry.
All right, you got to come see what they've done in the store here on Arlington Boulevard in Arlington Village.